Well, welcome again, Libra. It's March 2016. I'm Dadhichi Toth from astrology.com.au with your monthly overview. And as I've been suggesting in the last couple of months, I want to look at the chart a little more thematically than chronologically, as with most astrologers going systematically one aspect by another, and rather looking at, for example, the very strong focus on the sign of Pisces this month, which for you signifies your health, your working environment, particularly your health, and especially because if we look at your transits on the 9th of March, the new moon happens to be an eclipse. It's a solar eclipse, and that's pretty important, especially taking place there in the zone of health. This could unleash a lot of energy, and how you handle that energy is going to determine the way you cope with your health requirements, your bodily requirements, dietary requirements over the next few months. And interestingly, the tail end of that is the lunar eclipse, the full moon, which takes place in your sun sign on the 23rd of March. And of course the sun sign, the sign of Libra for you, does fully represent your physical body as well as your personality. So I see this month as being fairly critical to developing some better habits in terms of your eating, your living, your lifestyle in particular. The other important aspect I've been talking to the other star signs about this month, Libra, is this impending conjunction of Mars and Saturn. Now that's going to take place later in the year, some months from now. But as Mars moves into the sign of Sagittarius, your third house, and we see that happening on the 6th, earlier on in the month, you'll start to feel the effects of this conjunction. So the third house, what does that represent? It is really more the conscious mind. It is the communication style. That's been inhibited somewhat by Saturn's transit there for the last year or so. Mars and Saturn, when they conjoin, can be rather devitalizing. Mars for you represents your finances, ruling the second house along with Pluto, and also the 7th house of your relationships and the general public and people at large. So as this planet moves closer and closer towards Saturn, a very strong sense of inhibition, limitation, frustration can start to play out deep within yourself. And that probably is in some ways, a repercussion of the eclipse that we're going to see here in your 6th house. Mind you, these planets, Mars and Saturn, this is after the 6th, will indeed be forming a square, what we call a right angle, to that house of work, the house of health, workplace activities. Sometimes those two things can be intimately linked, as you well know. If you're not comfortable in work or the people you're working with, makes it very hard to really enjoy the quality and the time you spend there doing the job at hand. And that can also have repercussions on your health and physical well-being. As if that's not enough, we also see Venus, your ruling planet, moving into this place on the 12th of March. Now, Venus is very comfortable in the sign of Pisces, because this is its exaltation place, so that should give you a little more strength in terms of the way you're approaching your work. And it could be at that point that you start to look at new ways of dealing with your health and your vitality. The 6th house is not a well-known house. It, in a sense, especially with your south node, your past karma point transiting in this area, can represent what we call karmic issues, karmic diseases. And because it's the house of debt, we have to immediately consider that whatever's happening to you physically is a direct result of something you've done in the past, the way you've lived your life, either in this life or the last, if you believe in transmigration and reincarnation of the soul. In any case, let's just stick to the current life. We can see that this indeed shows us the repercussions from some of your past actions. For example, diet. If you're, I guess, eating a lot of poor quality fatty foods over a long period of time, that naturally is going to have an impact on your health, your cholesterol levels, so on and so forth. So it's imperative with this karmic combination to look to your past. Don't point the finger of blame at other people. Take a look at what it is you have done to precipitate the sort of problems you're having. It's also debts, not just karmic debts, but debts financially that are indicated by especially Venus moving through this sixth house. Debts which will be incurred by you. And there again we can extend that to the karmic debt. So sometimes we think, why did I lose this money? Why was my wallet stolen? Why have I had so many bills during this period? Well, that too is the great universal balancing act called karma. So when these sorts of things are happening to you, it's a good idea to maybe look at yourself and, I know it's difficult, but to look at it in a positive light in terms of that karma now being balanced. The debits that you have on that account sheet are likely to start being resolved once and for all. We see there's a lot of aspects there that I'm not going to go into all of them. Mercury, which is predominantly making some very hard aspects this month on the 5th and the 15th, the 31st. Mercury for you is considered a good planet. It does rule your 12th house of secrets, and again that's also an expenditure house. So on those dates you might find, especially with Mercury's transit commencing in the 5th house of speculation, that some of your investments may not be all that wise this month, so do take care with that. And we do see, as an example there, on the 31st, that square to Pluto. That's pretty intense, especially in terms of your communication. You need to lighten up, keep that Libran balance, keep your wit about you, and when dealing with others, especially in communication, be careful to not get too excited about what you're thinking about, but listen and read between the lines, and that will hold you in good stead this month. You can contact me here if you wish, for those of you that